Hi, I'm Stassi and I'm a fashion design student who's also very passionate about art, obviously, so today I'm going to be showing you my summer sketchbooks. I have two of them. One of them is my unfinished sketchbook from last summer, and I didn't manage to finish it this summer either because I was mainly working in a smaller A5 sketchbooks where I did portraits, and I also have a smaller A5 sketchbook which I think I bought around winter time and never go around to working in it because in my university we work in A4 or A3 sketchbooks and the work is a bit different than what I do during the summer, so let's get right into it.
We're going to start with my A4 Leuchtturm 1917 sketchbook. I originally got it for one of the university projects, but because we were supposed to get A3s and I got A4, I wasn't able to work in it, so I kept it as my summer sketchbook. I started this sketchbook with a sketch of my friend's legs, and then with that same friend we wanted to do daily prompts, and one of them was why I'm afraid to go in the water, so I drew this shark, layered some tracing paper over it. And then on the right of this page I also tried to layer paints on tracing paper, which didn't end up in a specific way that I was hoping for, but still I really like the outcome of. And I was drawing Becky Lynn. She's one of the story girls from YouTube, so check her out if you're interested. I was trying to get used to drawing poses. Back then I was supposed to do that in university quite often, and I was trying to break into it. I started a 100 hand challenge back in 2017 because I noticed I was avoiding drawing hands at all costs because they just turn out so wonky every time. So I think this challenge is a must for you to try if you're just like me in 2017. Back then I was also really interested in drawing with ball pens and blocking shapes out with acrylic paints around them, so it was really interesting for me to try. And here you can see Curly from Pero Like, a BuzzFeed personality on YouTube as well. I was also very interested in caricatures, which I saw on Pinterest, so if you see any of those faces, I wasn't the first person to draw them, I just copied them from there. But on the right, I had some leftover paint and I hate wasting it, so I just blocked some shapes out, which I later outlined, and those shapes kind of look like characters, so I tried to draw one of them. It's a pretty cool exercise. Another spread with a 100 hand challenge. Here I was trying to add some color and mix things together, adding some objects into my hands because I was running out of hand poses I could do. Another spread of pose studies. Oh, I really like this print. So on the right you can see a sketch, just took a picture and then traced it with pencil and overlaid the tracing lines. Then I had it covered with chalk, then turn it around, press the chalk side of the paper, just pushed with my pencil, and this way I had a lot of messy outlines on the left of the page, and then I just blocked some colors in. I really like how it turned out in the end. This was just a random spread of drawing from my mind from memory. I noticed I really like to exaggerate the shapes of the poses, so the spine is usually broken, the legs are very, very muscular, but that's how I like it. I was obsessed with this YouTuber on the right, Agatha, and then on the left I just layered some 3 poses in different pens. This is the last page where I did the 100 hand challenge. As you can see, I finished at number 61, I think. It just gets so redundant and boring after a while, but my Virgo brain desperately wants me to finish it at some point in the future, so I might get back to it. I was drawing my friend whilst we were hanging out in my backyard, and then at some point that summer we went to a park to draw them, and I was drawing some passerbys and her again. This is just a more or less realistic drawing from a photo next to my university. I think I used watercolor pens, pencils, acrylics, so I really like the mixed media aspect of it. For some reason I just can't get rid of plane tickets, and I keep them either in my flat or in my parents' house, so I just want to find them and stick them all in the sketchbook for no reason. For this spread I had so many pictures of my dogs and I decided to just draw them a little bit because I don't think I ever did this before. Here I think it was the first time I tried to do caricatures, so I drew my friends in different ways and ended up with some cute eye characters which I love dearly. This spread is just an overly sexualized version of Mermaid Challenge that Casey Golden has. Here I tried to do some more or less realistic portraits, and one of them is Marcia, PewDiePie's girlfriend or wife now, and my D&D character that I played as. Here I tried to keep track of the outfits that I wore last summer. As you can see, I just love those white shorts and then those grey sneakers. Are half dead now. This was just a spread with notes that I hated so much that I wanted to cover up, and I love what I covered it up with. It is another portrait of the same face that you'll probably see around all of my sketchbooks in the future, and I tried a smaller version on the left and then did a larger one on the right with mixed media. So you see oil pastels, then paints and pencils and pens all over. I just love the neck area of it, the nose, the eyes. I love how abstract and kind of unrecognizable it is. No wonder every female face that I draw looks a bit like me. I did so many face studies of my own face, my hand just got accustomed to drawing in a specific way. For this spread, I just took a bunch of screenshots from a video explaining how an athlete jumps a long jump, and I just layered them on top of each other, blocking the shapes. This is a spread of my sister's 25th birthday party, which she had in our backyard, so I took a bunch of pictures and just drew from them later on. The smaller portrait on the left I did last year, and then the larger one I did this summer. This guy is just so cool. He's very creepy, very strange, very funny, but I love how textured he is, how caricatured he is. I feel like he looks like a 70s salesman from TV. This drawing on the right, I think I did somewhere around 2015 or maybe 2016. It's a pretty old one, which I just stuck in the sketchbook because I didn't want to lose it. And then I overlaid a bunch of paint and then drew things on the left to kind of correlate with the similar style. My sister's fiance gave me his old tablet, so now I can do some digital drawings as well. And here I was just trying to explore backgrounds that I would like to do for a digital animation at some point. Another face study, but here I only tried to use oil pastels and acrylic paints and nothing else. More faces, yay! Those you can actually find on my Instagram, so if you're interested you can check it out. I just wanted to use up all of my paints in the palette, so I just randomly put some blocks of colors and then added markers and oil pastels. It looks pretty interesting, like a print for textiles maybe. During the summer, my friends and we went on a beach walk at 4 or 5 a.m. and I wanted to capture a moment because I feel like the view is very beautiful, and then I also drew my friend who has absolutely no pictures of hers taken ever, so I sketched her as well. I drew my group mates on the left and then my classmates on the right. This spread originated from a nickname that me and my team captain in a volleyball team had. We were called dragons because our vertebrae were very pointy in the spine, so this is where the inspiration for this illustration came from. This was our first day back in uni, so my group mates and I we went for a little lunch together, and I took this photo and then drew from reference. This might be familiar to you if you've seen my latest video, but I drew one face in 5 different styles, so if you're interested, check it out because I copied 5 different YouTubers. Again, I layered acrylic over oil pastels, but this time it didn't really work because I let it dry for about 5 days, and usually I would scratch it right off, right after it is dried. This is another portrait of a group mate of mine from the first outing we had this year. And the last page of the sketchbook for now is Zendaya from Euphoria. So I will definitely add more illustrations later on, but for now we are gonna go to the next sketchbook. I started the sketchbook in the beginning of April, I believe, and I began by using my new sets of oil pastels and drew a portrait, and after that I just started drawing with pencils and trying to explore this medium because I have a set of layer pencils, very thick ones in primary colors, and I feel like that's what started my obsession because I love those pencils so much that I just didn't want to use any other color in any other pencil and just stuck with primaries. And I was playing with negative space a little, blocking things out in acrylic and just painting with acrylic and adding maybe pencils on top of wet acrylic because I love the texture it gives, and specifically in here in the jacket detail. You can see the same piece of paper glued to the top of the sketchbook that is used for the background of the shot. It's actually a leftover transfer paper which I used to make my textile print for the Jersey project, which you can see a video of on my channel as well. It's called Greetings from the Past, so if you're interested you can have a look. And on the bottom of the spread I drew my model from the same project, so have a look. It's a pretty interesting photo shoot there. This next illustration is also a drawing of my model from the same photo shoot, but it's a different model. I had a guy and a girl, and this is a guy wearing 2 of the 3 pieces that I created for the project, so I drew him in a very exaggerated pose. I kind of like the idea and the approach itself. I already mentioned it before, but it's oil pastels and then acrylic on top, and I scratched it with a knitting needle. These next 2 are going to be the same pose. I like taking pictures in very strange angles and then just trying to draw them. I attempted a bit of an abstract approach to the same pose, but if you can't really tell, it's like a foot in the shot and then a leg and then a body on the background. So I tried to work with this. And then this is my favorite spread in the sketchbook. So I attempted the same technique as a couple of spreads before, where I scratched the thing with a knitting needle, but I didn't cover the whole spread with acrylic. I just added some blocks of it, and then in the sections where I didn't have acrylic I just drew with a pencil or with the wet brush. So it's a pretty interesting approach. I feel like I should do something like this in a larger scale format. And then on the top the whole thing got smudged, which is unfortunate because I love the exaggerated neck and the nose and how weird the pose itself is, and I love the color combination, and I think I might do this in a larger scale format as well. This right here is one of the poses from the previous page, which I kind of adjusted a little bit, and I kept it blank because I want to scan it and then do a digital illustration out of it, or maybe a print. This is actually another one of my favorite pages. I again drew my boyfriend in a bit of an Egon Schiele kind of inspired way. I really like how the colors blend together. And then on the top part of the page it was just a smudge that I tried to turn into another illustration drawing from my imagination, and it turned out kind of creepy. I noticed that a lot of things that I draw from my mind are very creepy looking. Here I tried to copy that same pose that I kept blank for a potential print idea, and I tried to color it in, and I like how I did a very thick layer of oil pastels and then scratched them a little bit with pencil, and it created kind of the stubble effect. I really like it. And again, the smudge page on the top is another creepy person. I attempted to draw myself with no reference image and ended up with this. I am not ripping things out of my sketchbook because I feel like anything that is not terrible, like horrifically terrible, I'm gonna keep in my sketchbook, so this is staying here, but I don't like it at all. Another one of me, but this time I had a reference photo. It looked a bit different every time I draw myself, but if you see a large forehead and a crooked nose, there is a 90% chance that I drew myself. It was my last time using green in the sketchbook. I realized that I hated green like that second. This little monster came out of those leftover pieces that I cut out from my friend's illustration in the previous page. I tried to do a one-line illustration, and I know the proportions are off, but he reminds me of someone, I don't know, maybe someone from the 70s, a character from a TV show or a movie. I attempted an animation for the first time and I did it in Photoshop, so if you're interested you can have a look at my personal Instagram. My first illustration with those oil pastels where I don't think I used any green, and I don't mind it, I like the color palette now. I was drawing just 2 poses, and I feel like it turned out to be a take on Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam. They're not really touching with their toes, but the idea is there, so it could be interesting to recreate in a larger format. This little guy just took a photo of me in Moscow, and I wanted to draw him because I like his pose. Another sneaky shot of a guy in Moscow metro. I loved his look, so I decided to draw him here. Some very messy overlays of my own face in different colors and different mediums, so I think I used watercolors and markers and pens and oil pastels at the same time. A little boy was sitting on a bench there with his teddy bear. Another mixed media illustration which I did while I was riding a bus to meet my friend in Tallinn. Attempted to draw my friend with oil pastels only, and I quickly realized that I love sketching with pencils first and then adding oils. Drew my friend's mom, and I love how minimalistic this illustration is. Even though I am tempted to add a lot of details every time I see it, I just like how it is now. And then I drew that same friend again, and this time I like it way better. I love this illustration a lot. It's another one of my favorites in the sketchbook. Even though it does really look like her, I just love the whole thing and aesthetic of it. At this point I'm just using people for reference and not trying to directly copy them, because this illustration doesn't look like my friend either. Here I did a heavily layered oil pastels and acrylic illustration of myself. Another sneaky photo of a person that was waiting for their bus, so I took a photo of her and drew. I really like how it turned out. It's not one of my favorites, but I love the approach in here. Sometimes my dad calls my makeup war paint, which I absolutely don't mind because I actually do a lot of colors and overlays. I express my art in my makeup sometimes similarly, so I make it very bright, very colorful, and I own it. I like war paint. Here I just drew from a photo which I took right after my mom dyed my pink side red. Another drawing session while riding a bus. This one is another one of those really bad ones which I'm just not ripping out for the sake of reference. Another very strange one. I like the orange ring around it, but that's about it. Attempted to draw one of Game of Thrones characters from a screenshot I took while I was watching the show. Did my own profile. How self-centered I am, because this sketchbook is 50% me, I feel like. For this one you can maybe see some similarities with the background, because I drew one of the distortions that I did for the Jersey project. I drew him in pencil and I decided to keep it this way. This summer I created my own bag brand and I sold it in flea market where my friend visited me, and I took a photo and then drew from that reference. And for those bags, if you're interested, I did a tutorial on one of the previous videos, and down below in the comments in here and then that tutorial obviously you can find links to it, so if you're interested check out that Instagram. I participated in that flea market twice, so him in the next 2 pages I drew while I was sunbathing and selling my stuff. I had no reference for those, I was just drawing them out of my head, but she is what I hope I will look like when I'm 80. Here are just pieces of that tape I used when taping down the rails so that my bags wouldn't fly away on that market. So for now the sketchbooks are done.
I have posted some of the photos to my design Instagram, so here it is, you can check it out if you're interested. I will be posting a lot of design in progress because I'm going to be working on my final degree collection this year, and I believe I'm going to be starting with some university content quite soon, so get ready for it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I am going to film my degree collection from start to finish, so stick around if you want to see that. And also I'm going to be filming a lot of different content around my university because it's my last year there and I want to get the most of my last year's experience, so I'm going to be filming everything. And one of the videos I'm working on right now is going to take a bit of time, but it's me filming my group mates and how they like to style, is basically their fashion. I'm starting with my group because it's the least intimidating for me to come up to them and ask them to be in my video, and obviously we are a fashion design direction, so it's quite natural for my group mates to have a really cool style and to film them. But the university in general is filled with so many cool people, and if you guys like the video I will probably be filming someone else as well. I think I'll dare to come up to them because during the summer I got a bit more confident in myself, so we'll see. I might come up to random strangers. Subscribe if you're interested for the content and join the family. Thank you for watching.